Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Joan here, and today's video is going to be me answering a question from one of my friends, and they asked me literally, I don't want to butcher what they said. It was, I'm curious as how your thought process was way back when, and then when you realized you should get help and then getting help. So the whole point of their question was because if you haven't watched my previous video, you should go check that one out first. It'll make more sense. It's the one that's titled The One That No One Ever Asked For, something like that. And my friend asked those questions because I pretty much talked about in the previous video how I was diagnosed with BPD. And that is borderline personality disorder, if you don't know. And I know the first time I heard about it, I thought it was like bipolar, and it's not. It's similar, but not the same. And to answer the question, I just thought that it'd be helpful or insightful for more people to hear about my answer instead of just directly answering my friend. So when my whole mental health journey started, it's a roller coaster. As I've said, that's how my life is. And I know someone commented in the previous video that everyone's life is like a roller coaster. And I know that too. So how can I put it? I honestly thought my life was perfect, which is a very strong word because perfect is not exist. It doesn't exist at all. But I really thought my life was very close to perfect since I was 18. When I was 18 years old, I just thought I had it all. I was senior year, my last year of high school. I had many friends. I literally was like doing the most. I was like going to ballet and hip hop classes. And I was, very smart. I feel like I'm very smart till now. And what I mean by that is like I was an academic student. I was like number 20 out of like 300 people. And that was my ranking. And I was in a relationship, which was one of the longest relationships I've ever been in. And I was very fortunate enough to experience an 18th debutante birthday. And if you don't know what that means, in the Filipino culture, to celebrate a young woman's birthday, it's when they turn 18. But in the US, it's when you turn 16. That's why they have Sweet 16 parties. And I really wanted a Sweet 16. And especially that there was a TV show before that was very popular when you would throw or have a Sweet 16. And my mom really just pushed me to get an 18th birthday as a, traditional Filipino young woman. And so I had to wait. And in order for me to not get a Sweet 16, I ended up going to London for a week for spring break in exchange to wait for that 18th birthday. So whole point is I just thought I was like the coolest person when I was 18. And then after I graduated high school, I feel like that's when reality really struck a chord in my life. That was when I went to college. That was when that relationship ended because of long distance and just different struggles of just trying to still be together despite us not being in the same place or whatever. And then just pretty much experiencing different people because I wasn't surrounded by the same classmates I had. I was like now meeting new people from all over the world because I was going to school in New York City. And at the same time, that was the first time I was exposed to suicide. I never thought I would meet someone or date someone that would end their life. So all of that. And I ended up dropping out of college. And then after that, like my dad passed away. And then everything just started following, struggle after struggle. And when I first went to therapy was when my ex died due to suicide. And that was just because my professor at the time really felt bad for me. They thought that I needed to see someone professionally for help. And even they escorted me to the therapist, and I didn't like it. It felt very uncomfortable. The person made me feel like I was being examined in like as if I was just like some random person and they just wanted to figure me out and just call it a day. And I just didn't feel like they genuinely wanted to help me. So I left and I just told myself I would never go to therapy again. And so, like I said, I didn't go to school anymore. And one of the best advice that I've ever received in my life was from my dad. He said, even if you're not in school anymore, you should do things that will help you in your future. Be ahead of the game of your friends and things like that while they're still in school. Like, do stuff that will help you get to where you want to be despite you're not in school anymore. And so, yeah, I ended up working a lot for many years in the photo industry. I did so many photo shoots, like literally like 5 to 7 a week. It's insane in how many photo studios that I was able to be a part of and things like that. So it's just a lot of things when I'm thinking about this whole journey. So it just seems like a blur for me. Like my early 20s were like a lot of work and a lot of partying, to be honest. And then I think I just got that all out of my system really early too, because it's like people still want to do that. And I just was over it already after like my early 20s. And so when did my mental health start being an issue again? Or I started being aware of it? I want to say 2016, 2017, things started really like, it just got brought up more because I was in relationships with people that I never thought I would ever experience. And what I mean by that, I was with people who literally lied about their entire life. I'm not kidding you. And because I am the gullible or just like wanting to see the good in people, because I'm an empath, I'm very empathetic for people. I always want to see the positive part of them. I would fail to see the negative, and then I would just end up getting hurt in the end or misleaded and misguided. And so when I finally would meet someone who's a good person, I would feel like a person who's been abused, which was what happened. I was like emotionally abused, mentally abused, and that person would like try to go near me and I would just like retract. I would like move back because I would just feel weird, because it's like I'm so used to like getting hurt. And that's really sad. So despite the fact that I was dating someone who was a good person, now it was just obvious that I needed help. And so there's just one day where I just really went berserk. Like I was really, really upset. I just wanted to end my life. I just wanted everything to just disappear. So I ended up going to the psych ward. And if anyone knows how an Asian parent would react, my mom didn't take me seriously. She was just like, I need to go to work. Why would I need to call out of work? If you want to go to the hospital, that's like for people who are crazy. You're not crazy, things like that. And it was very hard to listen to all of that. And I was very fortunate that I had a psychiatrist who I was just talking to through a friend that spoke to my mom and said, you need to take her to the psych ward. So I ended up going there. and they start asking me questions, and I do the intake, which is pretty much the questionnaire of like why you want to do that, how long have you had these thoughts, things like that. And I sat there and saw the other people, other patients that were there, and yeah, it feels like a scary place, but for me, I felt safe there. And to every other person might be like, that's wild. And I felt safe because I just felt like I was surrounded by people in the outside world who just didn't understand me, who made me feel bad about myself. And at the psych ward, I felt like I could just be away from all of that. So going again with the whole fact that I have a Filipino mom, she literally was just like, what are people going to say? Things like that, like always worrying about every other person but her own child. And I'm not saying my mom's a bad person, but it's just very typical of her to think that way. And so, anyways, I was just like, I don't care about everyone else. I just care about my well-being and trying to get better. And I'm even surprised I had that mentality. So, luckily, I spoke to another counselor while I was there who helped me feel better. And then I started seeing a psychiatrist, and I went on medication. I stopped after a month, and then I had crazy withdrawals. My whole body was just like filled with like so many bumps and things like that because it was trying to, I guess, remove all of that antidepressant that I was taking. And then I just decided, after talking to another friend who was very endearing about talking about their experience and trying to get better, they suggested like you should work out, you should exercise. No treatment will be as sustainable or will help you as much as exercising. So I started working out, started going to the gym, and got a membership. And it really, till this day, I'm very thankful for that advice because I really can take all my emotions and anger and frustration out at the gym. And, you hear it all the time as a cliche, like, work out and exercise, but it really does help. And eating better. But no one ever told me that. I just chose to not eat meat anymore and things like that. So where are we now in the timeline? So then it would be on and off again, my emotions, and how I would catch myself would just be me. I haven't thought about this in a while. I would be very impulsive. Like if something upset me, I would burst out crying. And that happens still, but not as bad as before. Like I would really make a scene. I literally wouldn't care if like all my family members were in front of me. I would just cry if I felt uncomfortable, if like my anxiety was rising, if I felt like no one really cared about me. Like I would just cry in the subway train, cry in a party, cry everywhere. And people would just panic, right? Because like once you see someone that cry, it's like everyone feels either helpless, they don't know what to do. Many people don't know how to console people. So I end up just leaving. I always leave wherever it is that I am. And then it becomes awkward to the point that I end up not talking to these people for a while because it's like, how can you talk to someone when that was the last thing that you encountered with them is them crying in front of you? And you didn't know how to help them. So I'm trying to just think where I was at. So the person that I was seeing, the good person, we end up breaking up. I end up moving to the Philippines for 3 months. I mean, I traveled the whole Philippines, literally, by bus, by plane, went to Seoul, South Korea, went to Hong Kong. I literally, like, when I say it like that, it's like, wow, like, so much fun to travel. And like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate my time while I got to travel. But at the same time, I was in a third world country with not my mom, like just like relatives that like I would just usually see for like a month and that's it. And it was just because I couldn't be in the US. I felt like being home wasn't home. I just felt sick to my stomach. Like I felt like just no one really understood how to deal with me. And then when I came back, it was like I felt like I was like a stranger in the US. Like I felt like things changed while I was gone and I didn't know how to respond to that. And then I decided to go to college because my mom, no matter what thing I've done to, as an accomplishment, it was not equivalent to a college degree. So I went back to college and then I dated one of the worst people I've ever dated in my life. And that person was super toxic. Another lied about their life, lied about every other thing that they were doing when I thought they were intentionally a good person. And talking about like reacting and responding to my mental health and changes, I started like losing myself. Like I would just literally, at first I would fight for the relationship. I would try to do whatever I could to make it work. And then I started to just stay in it because I was so used to how negative it was. And that was messing me up. And then my friends started just not recognizing me anymore. And it was just like, we work well together, so we're just gonna work together. But as like romantic relationship, like that's pretty non-existent. It felt like we were just like using each other at that point. And I'm surprised how long this relationship was because it should have ended way earlier. And yeah, so then that happened, that ended. But at the same time, I'm grateful I went to therapy again. And how did that happen? Because my friend at the time suggested that I should go to therapy because it wasn't because of the toxic relationship that I was in. It was just the beginning of that. But if I didn't have therapy side by side with that relationship, I think I would have probably not be here. Like seriously. Because that relationship messed me up a lot. Emotionally, mentally, and everything, to the point that I gave up my photo studio because they have a studio next to my studio, which is ridiculous, and that's a whole nother story. So it just wasn't healthy to be in the same environment as that person. So my therapist literally helped me maneuver through that relationship and through other trauma and struggles I've been through. And then once that relationship was over, surprisingly, the pandemic happened. So it worked out in my favor that I didn't have to be stuck with a person that I did not want to be with anymore. And then, yeah, I have to go through the whole pandemic with them. So during the pandemic, I really worked on myself. I was still in therapy. This was like now 3 years of being in therapy with the same therapist. And that just showed a good sign that we really got along because I had trust issues. I didn't, with my previous history with a therapist before, like almost like 8 years ago, I was just like, am I really going to do this? But I knew deep down I really wanted to help myself because the only person that can help yourself is yourself and no one else. In the end of the day, like people can try, but in the end, it's you who has to decide that you want to get better. I solely believe in that. My mom, it always insists that in my brain. So I had therapy, I had a job, and I was going to school. So I was like very productive and I was doing what I was doing during the pandemic. And then I did my documentary for Caveman and things were just like like killing it, I was in like little here and there relationships, but they weren't as crazy as previous ones. And being in therapy, it gave me insight of like how I should deal or cope with my emotions and my feelings. And I'm someone who really works well with assignments. So they would give me an assignment every week in regards to like whatever's the topic we're talking about, and then how I could incorporate that to like help me while I'm not seeing my therapist. I could do this assignment to help me feel better and things like that, or like get better, or whatever the case may be. And it also helped me going to the psych ward beforehand also, because like it just made everyone in my circle more conscious about my well-being and what's going on with me. It's like, oh, like this is serious. This is not like she's just saying she's having a bad day or she's depressed. Like they like I don't know. Sometimes it's like it takes, unfortunately, you going to the hospital like for people to wake up and be like, this is real. And so that's what I did. And just to add, I went to the psych ward for the second time after the toxic relationship. I was really losing it with that person. Like I just was like, I've had it. Like I shouldn't be with you anymore, but I still stayed. And then now I'm like asking myself, like, why am I still here? So then I end up going to psych ward again. and then after that, yeah, I haven't been to the psych ward. Still not taking medication. So after 3 years with my therapist, I took a break. And then I just recently went back this past May after I came back from Dubai. I was like, dang, my emotions are getting all flustered again. And I was also feeling down again. It's also certain conditions trigger my emotions. Like definitely the weather. If it's raining, snowing, it's just like cloudy outside, like it looks just gloomy. It's cliche, but I really get affected by that. I really need like light in my life. And so when it's winter here, I just really feel like blah. And so during winter, it was like the big conversation, like, oh, like, what do I do? What do I do to like get better? And then that was a conversation like, oh, like I should go to freaking Dubai. Like, what the heck? That's like such a drastic travel decision, but I did it. And then after that, I came back to the US, and then I still felt like blah. So then I went to therapy again, and it's just a different therapist. And I know if you watch YouTube videos and you get these advertisements about BetterHelp, I was very sus. Like I was unsure about trying it out, but I heard good things through my friends. So I tried BetterHelp because it's very hard to find therapists or psychiatrists in my area. And so BetterHelp helps literally because it's virtual, like you could talk remotely and things like that. But I know some people like the in-person, and that was what I used to do. I used to do in-person sessions, but honestly, I don't see any difference talking to them on the computer or in person now. Me and my therapist are like homies, like we're very close. And what BetterHelp is also with your membership. I'm not even trying to sell this. I'm just telling you based on my experience. You get to talk to your therapist like every day. It doesn't have to be like your actual session. Like you can hit them up. You could literally contact them and they'll respond. Whereas my other therapist, I would have to wait till the next week or whenever the next session would be, and then I'd be like, oh man, like not having a good day, like what do I do? And then I gave this like example to them one time, like what happens if I'm having a bad day and like we're not meeting today, and like do you just ignore them? Like, and so my therapist, my previous one, would like try to arrange a way for us to still talk, even if it was like 20 minutes, even though it wasn't our day to meet. But with BetterHelp, you get to talk to them whenever. And then, yeah, and then you could send them anything, and then they go back and forth with you. And then even with your actual session, I just don't feel rushed. I feel like I get to say everything that I want to say. And it's just been a good experience, and I'm very fortunate that I don't have to like switch from another therapist. Like I actually was put together with someone who I really get along with. And so, yeah, what's been working for me now is just people understanding what I'm going through, people just hearing me out, um, pretty much me going to therapy every week, me going to the gym. You don't have to be extreme, like going every day, but like moving your body is really important. Eating right is helpful, but it doesn't hurt to like eat something that you really want to eat, like a cheat day once in a while, but I always feel bad. So I don't do that. But, here and there. And listening, like people always say, because especially that I work in the film industry, the things you watch, the things you see, the things you watch, that's the same thing. The things you watch and the things that you hear, like songs you listen to, like can affect your mood. But honestly, like listening to sad music makes me feel better. And so I want to say, do what works best for you. Seriously, like if watching sad movies makes you feel better, it doesn't make you sad, it just makes you feel better for whatever reason, then do it. So that's what I do. I do what works for me. I enjoy reading books, even if it's about like something tragic. I just it's about self-control and having self-discipline. So if you can control your emotions and discipline yourself to know how much you can take in, then that's really good. But don't like overly consume stuff and to the point that you start getting really down and sad and whatever. That's the whole thing. It's like knowing how much you can use or do with something, if that makes sense. I know people have told me that like I should, be in nature and things like that, and it is helpful, but for me, I'm such a city girl. I find more enthusiasm, whatever. I find more fulfillment when I play basketball or skateboard or just doing extra curricular activities like that. And yeah, like I said, that's the whole point. You just do what you want to do as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, and pretty much be aware of other people's feelings and knowing how to respond to them. Sometimes people don't want people to help them in a sense. They just need someone to listen. So be aware of those kind of things. And I'm trying to think if I answered all of it. So pretty much I wasn't aware of my well-being. Then I started like lashing out and just reacting like to the point that people didn't know what to do with me and they just felt hesitant and things like that. And then there's the next part of the journey where like I just told myself I needed to get better, and whatever it took, I was trying to figure out and maneuver and in ways that I could find what works for me, because not everything that someone tells you means that it'll work for you. But it'd be good to hear those suggestions because you could try it out for yourself. But then if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean those are the only options for what can help you feel better. And it's okay to have a bad day. I think sometimes people have this assumption that you should always have a good day, especially if you're on social media. You think that everyone's having a great day every day. It's like, that's a fucking lie. I tell myself, like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to just feel, like, to admit to anyone that you're not feeling good, but don't let it consume you. That's the biggest point in everything that I just said. Don't let anything consume you to the point that you just want to end it all. And I just keep reminding myself that. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this was very helpful in some sort of way. Maybe you relate to it. My previous video, I got emails and messages, even though I told people I don't like to text message, about what I had to say on that video. And so, I mean, like I said, I know people care. It's just they might not know what to do. And I think it's also nice that people really care about my well-being and are hoping for the best for me, and that I continue to feel better. And I just want to say thank you very much, because it means a lot. And for so long, I've always thought that I wouldn't feel happy, and I still don't feel happy. I just feel very bittersweet, half okay, half meh. And so we'll leave it there. Till the next video. Sayonara. It's the end of the video, so don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, it will help me in the long run. Okay, bye.